Chapter 2. Wedding Bells. 9:40 p.m. Tuesday 11th of August 1970. Regano's Oyster Bar, Buchanan Street, Glasgow. And to think that I had wanted Brian to be thinking of wedding bells, I'm reeling. 12 years with me, and now he's going to marry some bar girl he met on a 5-day shore leave in Singapore. Mei Lin is so sweet, so innocent. He's besotted. A bar girl, sweet and innocent. I wanted you to be the first to know, Mari, because we've been such great friends, you and I, for so long. I hope you and Mei Lin will be friends too. I'm coming home for good now, you see. I got myself a teaching job at the tech starting next term. It will be strange for Mei Lin at first. But I know you'll help her to settle in. This is too much. I can't bear it. As soon as he decides to marry this floozy, he gets himself a job as a lecturer at Strathclyde University. Why couldn't he have done that long ago, and married me? We could have a Neil of our own by now, and as if that isn't bad enough, he wants me to be her new best friend. To help her to settle in. I'll be a laughingstock. People will smile behind their hands if I pretend to like Brian's Far Eastern bride. They'll shake their heads pityingly if I don't. I'm the woman scorned. Oh, it's as much as I can do not to pick up the wine bottle and bop him over the head with it. But I don't. Mari, you're a lady. I remind myself. Ladies do not bop their ex-boyfriends over the head with wine bottles. Not in public. But what am I to do? Next term is barely 2 weeks away. How can I show my face anywhere when Brian is strutting around all over Glasgow with Mei Lin? Talk about a ready. And what's worse, he might even manage to nag me into playing the tourist guide to her. And then, like a gift from God, I suddenly remember the job offer from Professor Yilmaz. I'm not going to take it, but Brian doesn't know that. I'll take the wind right out of his sails, the cheeky sod. Sorry, Brian. I can't help you with that. I won't be here. I've been offered a job in Istanbul. Head of English Studies at a top school. Brian's laughing so hard some wine goes down the wrong way. He isn't fooled for a second. Oh come on, Mari. Between his gasps and coughs, you don't really expect me to believe that a little homebody like you would ever take a job in Turkey. That's why things never got serious between us. You're so unadventurous. And me, I love adventure. Never got serious. 12 years, and it was never serious between us. No one could doubt you love adventure, Brian. Why, you're going to marry a bar girl. So who knows how many adventures are waiting for you, even here in Glasgow? But watching me introduce your exotic bride to her future friends, he kens fine what I mean won't be one of those adventures. I'll be in Istanbul when she arrives. Bit difficult to manage that, Mari. He's still chortling, she's upstairs right now. Oh. He's a pig. How could I ever have thought that I wanted to have his babies? He's a brute. What am I going to do? I leave, of course, instantly, but as I stand outside Regano's waiting for their doorman to find me a taxi, I wonder bleakly what I'll do tomorrow. As soon as I get home, I call Liana. Just as I knew she would be, she's furious on my behalf. Let's get lunch at Dino's tomorrow, I'll call in sick at the bakery. I'm too miserable to lecture her about how wrong it is for her to call in sick so that we can meet up. I want to sit eating ice cream with her and crying into my coffee, and right this minute her employer's superior claim on her time is not my first concern. So we arrange to meet at noon, inside Dino's. I sit crying and eating ice cream, and Liana is brilliant. She keeps wiping the tears off my face with a nice soft, clean hanky and ordering more ice cream, which she fetches herself from the counter so that I don't have to hide my red blotchy face from the waiter. We're in a booth at the very back of the restaurant, and Liana has pushed me into the seat which has its high back to the door. No one except her can see me cry. After a while, when Liana comes back from the counter she isn't carrying ice cream, she's carrying 2 big brandy glasses. I'm not much of a drinker, and I'm feeling a bit sick from eating so much ice cream. Brandy has no appeal for me. Throwing myself into the Clyde has a lot of appeal for me. Drink it. You need some backbone put into you. You've got to help me plan. What do you mean, plan? There's nothing to plan. I'm a laughingstock. Grimly. Oh, yes there is. That gobshite Dash. Liana. Well, he is. Liana, we're in public. Someone might hear you. No matter what Brian's done. Who's talking about Brian? That pig Charlie Stout has sent me a tax demand for more money than the house my godmother left me is worth. And penalties. I'm barely making eating money at the bakery. Donald has run through all the tax money. The divorce costs ate up all my savings. And now that filthy animal of a tax fiend has the unspeakable nerve to say to me, we can do nothing about the tax demand, my dear, you've spent the company's tax money and must make that good, but perhaps something could be done about the fines and penalties if you're nice to me, my dear. Oh, Liana. Suddenly my own worries look pretty small. Liana swigs her brandy moodily. I'd like to wring that man's neck. Do you think he'll come to his senses if my brothers give him a doin'? But despite the hope in her voice, Liana must know her brothers can't give Stout a doing, richly though he deserves it. The 5 Stewart boys are fine figures of men, over 6 feet tall and all-time champions at the caber tossing. But they can't lay a finger on Stout without getting locked up in the pokey. The law takes a dim view of assault on Her Majesty's servants. An idea begins to take slow shape in my mind. Liana, your brothers are all fine strapping men, and could throw yon Stout across the room as soon as look at him. But I'm thinking maybe they shouldn't do that, not at all, at all. Maybe what they want to do is, they just talk to him quiet like about how upset you are, and how much it upsets them to see you upset. P'raps they'll bend a horseshoe at him, which they can explain to him they'd brought along for luck. I tap my fingers on the table in a dirge. Da 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 da. And if you were away for a bit? Maybe they might turn up other places than his office, all sorrowful, greetin', over how much they miss you. And how fear they are that you'll do yourself a mischief, and all through the worry over your taxes. I decide to take a sip of brandy, but never a bit of harm they'll do him, and they'll be sure to take recordings of everything they say to him, in case the police should come at them. Another small sip. How long do you think he could stand that, Liana? 3 months? 4? Your brothers are awfully big men. What's in your mind, Mari? I'm thinking I've got a job offered me in Istanbul, and a head who would let me choose my own assistant, and who'd know you'd gone there, Liana. Well, we talk about it a bit more, and then Gino, whose turn it is to manage the cafe today, all Dino's sons take a turn at management, lets me use their telephone to place a collect call to the Istanbul Nautical High School. I get hold of Professor Yilmaz easy enough. Miss Maguire. How good to hear from you. Does this mean that you will be coming to us? Well, Professor, I was thinking. You did say I'd have my own assistant to handle all the paperwork for my department. Of course. Of course. Every department head has an assistant for paperwork. Well, you see, it would be kind of strange for me at first, alone in a faraway place, and so I was hoping. Yes, dear lady. Yes? You were hoping? I can choose my own assistant? Naturally. Yes. We discussed this. You choose. Well, I have a friend here in Glasgow. She has an excellent head for paperwork and figurework and all that kind of thing. And you wish her to come here with you? Of course. There is a little set of rooms, 2 bedrooms, a sitting room, a bathroom, perfect for 2 ladies to share. So that was all right. We got it sorted on the spot, the professor being extremely courteous about all the arrangements. There's a very generous relocation package. Professor Yilmaz says Liana can have relocation expenses too, although strictly speaking an assistant isn't entitled to expenses. That's good of him. I can tell I'm going to be well treated at his school. I shall be charmed, Miss Maguire, to meet this paragon of a lady whom you have chosen to assist you. Liana and I walk 3 shops down Sokyhall Street to the Thomas Cook shopfront, the travel agents, to book passage to Istanbul in 10 days' time. While we're there and the Thomas Cook lassie is on the phone sorting out our passage across Europe on the train, she shows us a brochure for city breaks. These city breaks are a package holiday tour. You can go to London or Paris or Amsterdam. It's very good value. Whilst she's holding on the phone, the lassie is busy talking to us about how great it will be if we have a city break holiday before we start our journey to Istanbul. And right away I see the big advantage. I'd be gone from Glasgow before anyone knows anything about Brian's beastly bar girl. I can hold my head up leaving. And before I get back everyone will be all talked out over Brian's weird life choices. I won't have to pretend not to notice that I'm being laughed at, or even worse, pitied. We choose Paris, which is pretty ironic. But Liana is having fun for the first time in the last 8 months. Who needs men to visit the city of romance? She winks. Who needs men, full stop. We can have an exciting adventure on our own. And Paris is where the express train to Istanbul starts off from, so that's good. I'm just as glad that Liana fancies Paris. What with the troubles, and IRA activity flaring up, and me being Irish, I'm thinking that maybe London isn't the best place to be staying for long. We don't want to have the police there taking it into their heads that we've come from Belfast instead of Glasgow and are plotting some kind of devilment. Liana says I'm daft even to think of a thing like that. After we get some French francs and a lot of traveller's checks at Thomas Cook's, they have a bureau de change right there in their shop, very convenient. Liana and me part company, because we have to let our families know what we're doing. Naturally Liana has the more difficult job, briefing her brothers, but I envy her, because telling Kat is going to be fraught, and also I have to resign from Kelvin Academy, which means letting Aloysius McLaughlin know right away. It would be a rotten thing to do to him, letting him start the new term all unsuspecting, and I won't do that. Aloysius McLaughlin and I have always had a good working relationship. He doesn't deserve that kind of poke in the nose. And besides, I want a reference from him. I'm freshly engulfed in annoyance and misery at the thought of Brian's bizarre behavior. How could he do this to me? Okay, so he's met someone new. He could have been a gentleman about it. He could have written the news to me, given me time to prepare. Just look what's happening instead. The disruption to my life, my family, and, I hadn't thought of it until now, my girls, my colleagues. It's going to be very inconvenient for Aloysius, having to find a replacement only 2 weeks before term begins, and me not even there to do a smooth handover. My poor girls. Yes, 5A and 5B are happily finding their way in the exciting world of New Wave 70s Britain's classless society, but what about 4A and 4B, who will be this September's 5A and 5B? They're expecting me to guide them through the minefield of the new curriculum and into the safe harbour of Glasgow University, so instead they come back from the summer break, and no Miss Maguire. Perhaps Aloysius will find himself having to bring in a substitute who won't know the girls, who won't be in tune with our school's way of doing things, who might even be in favour of comprehensive education. At the thought of my poor girls sitting there all bewildered, I furtively wipe away a few tears. What's come over you, Mary Maguire? I chide myself, greeting. In the street, I'm getting worried now, because you never know, this whole Istanbul thing might not work out. How to resign is a bit of a difficulty, because the school has closed down for its semi-annual 2-week-long spring cleaning. And the McLaughlin family is not on the phone. Luckily, they live only 2 streets away from us, right beside the church. I decide I'll walk round there now, and tell Aloysius first off. Get it over with. That was hard enough, but it's nothing to telling our Kat. My poor big sister is so bewildered and worried for me that in the end I have to tell her about Brian, Liana's tussle with the taxman I keep to myself. Then it's worse, because she's crying at the thought of me losing my man and leaving her, and I know that inside she's keening for poor Ian all over again, and I feel like a monster. But now she's rushing over to me, my brave loyal Catriona, and she hugs me, sobbing out against my neck. You're better off without him. Oh, far better off. You'll have a grand time in Turkey, and come home with a gorgeous Turk on your arm, and Bad says to him, the stupid galoot, he doesn't know when he's well off. I never did like him. Cat adores Brian, and oh, the patter they spark off each other, my poor Mari. She gulps in some air. You'll have a super time in Istanbul, they tell me the weather's just lovely there. To think of us all freezing in the rain here, and you cozy warm, and treated like a queen, they tell me those Turkish men are so charming and attentive. I'll just go and put the kettle on. She retreats to the kitchen, to have her cry out in peace. Neil comes in just then, and I tell him that I'll be off to Paris in the morning and then on to Istanbul. The thought of a resident auntie's departure from his life does not faze him a bit. Cool. Bring me back a working model of the Eiffel Tower, will you, Auntie Mari? And one of a mosque. It's always construction toys he wants. He'll be an engineer, like his father. Poor cat.